Hello, my name is Anthony Mohr, and today I'll be discussing the history of Prohibition and the impact of alcohol on Americans all the way up until today. So just a quick overview, Prohibition and crime in the 1920s, we'll discuss that. We'll also discuss why Prohibition happened in the first place, what happened during Prohibition, what was the end result of Prohibition, how is alcohol affecting America today, alcohol's impact, and we'll wrap it all up at the end. So we got just a quick little, what is Prohibition? Some of you might not know what it is, but it was a time that took place in the 1920s all the way up until 1933. It was a time where the manufacturing, the sale, and trade of alcoholic beverages was outlawed. So you couldn't sell it, couldn't trade it, couldn't manufacture it. The Volstead Act was what enforced alcohol prohibition. Volstead Act came about October 28th, 1919, and it basically said alcohol is illegal, you can't sell it, can't manufacture it, can't trade it. And it had a big impact going forward for the rest of the lives of Americans. So Prohibition and increased crime. Time during the 1920s through the 1930s was a time of the Roaring Twenties. It was a time of a lot of immigration. So you saw a lot of stuff going on in America at this time. You have a few of the bootleggers of alcohol. For those of you who don't know what a bootlegger is, it was basically a person who sold alcohol illegally and tried to make profit off of it. So you have Al Capone. Al Capone's been in a few movies. Pretty well-known gangster of the 1920s, big alcohol bootlegger. You have Bill McCoy. Bill McCoy was actually known for having some very good alcohol. They called his alcohol the real McCoy. So that's a little fun fact there. And then you got Roy Olmsted, the police lieutenant, which shows that the selling of alcohol was happening illegally from many different people. It was happening to lawyers. Lawyers were selling alcohol. Businessmen, policemen, people working for the government were all bootlegging alcohol, and they were all trying to make profit off of it. And you have the rise of crime. So a lot of people thought by Prohibition, by putting it in place, crime would, as a result, be lower. But you actually had crime rise. So citizens, now everyday citizens, were treated as criminals for having possession of alcohol or manufacturing, selling, or trading alcohol. They were treated as regular criminals and prosecuted severely for it. Rejected the laws. Many citizens began to reject laws, especially when it came to bootlegging alcohol. It was a big deal in the 1920s. Bootlegging alcohol rose to the highest it'll ever be, and that was because you take something that's on the legal market, it's a substance that is known to be pretty addicting, and you make it illegal. So it had a huge impact. Americans also turned to other illegal drugs, cocaine, marijuana, many other drugs that had a very negative impact on society. So why did Prohibition happen? There were a few goals that people wanted to accomplish, Americans wanted to accomplish by putting in effect the Volstead Act and causing Prohibition. So they wanted to lower crimes. They wanted to lower domestic abuse. It was believed that men would go out drinking and with the effects of alcohol overcoming them, they would beat their wives, they would go out and commit crimes, they would kind of just cause ruckus. They wanted to improve the health of Americans. Americans believed that alcohol was making Americans unhealthy. It was having impacts on the body and the mind of Americans, and they wanted an overall healthy America. So they wanted to get rid of something that is known to cause problems. Large amounts of immigration were going around in the 1920s. It was a time of the Roaring Twenties. Many people were migrating to America from all over, from Italy, all over Europe, all over many different parts of the world. And they thought that due to the rising effects of immigration, they believed that alcohol would have a very negative effect on immigration with the many people coming to America. They believed that there was no room for alcohol in any of that, and it would only cause many severe problems. Many people who supported Prohibition, the Anti-Saloon League, the Women's Christian Temperance Union, the Prohibition Party, many of these people that opposed Prohibition We're using religion as saying alcohol is evil, brought upon by the devil, makes people do heinous and horrible things. They were using domestic abuse and saying that alcohol has a very poor effect on women. It leads to women being abused, women being hit, women being beaten, treated poorly, and just an overall effect of crime. So what happened during Prohibition? Bootlegging alcohol became an occupation for many. The average American saw money being made in bootlegging alcohol, and they wanted to make money for themselves. There were illegal drinking establishments, underground establishments developed, so people were still getting their alcohol even though it was illegal. Legal drug use rose, as we touched on that a little bit before. Cocaine use of marijuana, use of opium, many other harmful drugs. Jobs were lost. As you believe the alcohol industry had people employed. They gave people jobs. And when you take away alcohol, you take away jobs. You put the alcohol on the black market, and it makes more of an opportunity for criminals to make money off this trade this good. Businesses began to fail. Criminals began to get richer. So you have hardworking businesses dying and criminals just continuing to rise up the food chain. Overall, money and crime increased, money was lost, and it turned out to be a very negative effect. Crime rose because people felt their rights were being abused. They believed that alcohol was a right for Americans, and your rights were being taken away by making alcohol illegal. So, like all good things and oftentimes bad things, Prohibition did have to come to an end. Billions of dollars were lost by Americans. They realized that crime began to pay more than doing a decent occupation. Realized the impact of Prohibition on crime in general. Crime began to rise as a result. People were very much not okay with the fact that they were taking away sort of freedom of Americans. It had a huge effect on businesses. Like I stated before, alcohol made money for America, and now all that money was going to the underground criminals and going away from the hardworking Americans. Laws were being broken. People were very upset in this time during the Roaring '20s. There's a lot of things going on in America, and Prohibition was not helping anything by any means. And finally, it ended in 1933. They realized the impact it was having on people and realized that there needed to be a change. Alcohol should not have been illegal, even though it may not be the best thing to do. It does have a very negative impact when taken to the underground criminal market. So alcohol in America today, it's a social thing that people use. They go out, they meet people, they mingle, they use alcohol. Many people use alcohol responsibly. Many people don't have an issue using alcohol, but then again, you get a lot of people that do have a problem with alcohol. Alcohol makes up around $253 billion in the legal market from consumers, making alcohol a very booming product in America and all over the world. Most use recreational substance in America. Many people use alcohol casually, from the average American to Americans that use it excessively. It's a very widely used substance. Total U.S. retail establishments selling alcohol. So as you see from about 2008 all the way up until almost 2018, 2017, you saw a steady increase of alcohol retail sales. Alcohol is a booming product, and that hasn't even changed in this year. You did see a little drop from 2017 to 2018, and many people can come up with the hypothesis that maybe the sale of alcohol dropped due to a new legal drug, for that matter, being on the market. You have marijuana, who's been legalized fairly recently, and now you have two substances on the market that are legal for recreational use, which could be attributed to the fact that alcohol has declined recently, but still remains a very widely sold and used legal substance in America. So the impact of alcohol. Alcohol has an impact both short-term and long-term. Drinking responsibly is not a problem for a lot of people. However, it is a problem for a good amount of people as well. Alcohol abuse is prevalent. Alcohol-related incidents, crimes. People sometimes can't handle their liquor, and crimes do happen as a result of alcohol. Affects Americans short-term and long-term, ranging from illnesses from the liver, which is a big one, the heart, the pancreas, the brain. Alcohol can have short-term and long-term severe impacts on the health of humans. Roughly 88,000 people die each year from alcohol-related deaths. So you take the good with the bad when you have alcohol. You make it illegal, you lose a lot of money, crime will probably go up, deaths will probably stay the same because ultimately people are still going to get alcohol. You make tobacco legal, people are still going to get tobacco. But alcohol does have certain impacts and it should be taken seriously. However, it does have a very rich history dating back to the Prohibition era. So we got a chart here of the deaths per year. You see a lot of people from the ages of 45 to 65 struggle with dying and drinking the most. You see people older ages around 65 usually don't drink as much. However, deaths do kind of stay pretty stagnant. Alcohol doesn't discriminate. Deaths happen from all ages. You see people around the ages of 25 to 44, a little bit in the middle there, or maybe a little bit lower than the older individuals, but it's still having an effect on pretty much every age group. And just in conclusion, Prohibition was a very significant time in our history. Alcohol is still a drug widely used today, a substance widely used today, and it's a popular substance. It generates billions of dollars in the United States of America. And you could see the result making something illegal like that dating back to the Prohibition era of the Roaring 20s. Crime will go up, money will go down for the average businesses, and money will go up for the criminal underworld. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad with alcohol and realize the money in it, but also realize the many negative effects it can pose as well. And these are just a little references. I thank you all very much for listening today.